For the right foot position, don't stand in the middle on the forehand side. The reason we emphasize this stance is that if you stand in the middle, even if the opponent doesn't hit a wide shot and just plays to the normal wide forehand angle, you might be forced to move. If the shot is wide, a big lateral move will cause you to reach for the ball too late, and it will go deep. If the ball is short, you'll get stuck and your legs won't move properly. You must position your right toe to wrap around the corner of the table, as covered in the course. This is called protecting or holding the table. By holding the table, if the ball is in wide corner, my right leg can immediately move in to protect the ball and reach it at the fastest speed. That's it for the stance. So, have you all heard about the importance of stance? Once your stance is correct, you can establish the triangle framework. To perform a quick counter drive, don't use your body or your arm alone. Use your body to initiate the shot. You can execute it faster. The hand is led by the waist. Hold your waist to feel the connection. The movement is driven by the waist, transferring power through the center of gravity. The hand remains very stable and doesn't drop on the follow-through. The wrist can open slightly, opening the body to create space. This requires almost no adjustment. This first point is very simple. Legs lead the waist leads the hand. This is something all professional athletes practice daily. The next step is simple. Many people jumping straight from drive to loop, but from an amateur or beginner advancement perspective, you should start with quick counter drive. The next stage after learning forehand drive should be this quick counter drive, especially for children. Their waist strength isn't fully developed yet, so they should spend more time finding a feeling of friction near the table. They shouldn't focus on swinging the waist yet, especially kids. Coaches who train kids, leave comments below if you agree. I have to keep looking at this screen, which I don't like. I like to look at the camera so you can feel I'm talking to you. There's no need to go directly from drive to a loop. There's no need to loop this far from the table. Many kids can't do that. You can take half a step back to let the child rotate their waist a little more. This is the progression. There aren't many adjustments, it's the same framework, just making the movement slightly larger within that same structure. The entire movement framework remains the same. The hand doesn't need to open up significantly, just unfold a little bit. Previously, we turned the waist for hitting the ball in forehand drives, which is about impact before friction. This is the next stage after forehand drive. Don't jump straight to looping. Let me demonstrate the quick counter drive. Get a clear feeling of pressing the ball, then brush while making contact. Have you learned this point about the quick counter drive? If you don't understand, type in the comment below. Within the drive framework, let me demonstrate. To drives followed by to quick counter drives. It's that simple, it's just a slightly larger swing. This is especially effective for kids to practice. To turn the hips, just tuck your butt back. Your hips will naturally engage. Soreness in the right calf is normal if your playing hand is your right hand. If you're left-handed, it would be unusual. The quick drive is all about friction. There's no quick impact.
OK， 可以多点，可以多点。快带就是摩擦，快带就是摩擦啊，因为没有说快撞、快点。对，你们可以回答我一下，不要一个人讲。孙先生说过内耗，我可能讲半个小时就下播了，这真没劲儿啊。你看
The quick drive is only friction. If you do flat hit, are you trying to imitate Miyamoto's smash move? The quick drive involves a forearm fold, and the wrist must grab the paddle upon contact. Practice this grabbing sensation. Let kids and beginners practice this feeling of grabbing the paddle. Don't jump from drive directly to looping. Practice this instant grabbing feel. If I don't use my body, you can practice this sensation. Grab the ball. Can you feel my paddle grabbing the ball? I've said before, don't swing the forearm down and back. Friction comes from pressing against the ball from behind forward. Everyone must get rid of the outdated idea that friction must always be from low to high. Times have changed because the equipment has changed. Modern equipment has excellent friction capabilities. It's essentially built-in friction in tacky rubbers recently. The ball is also larger and floats more, so you don't need to deliberately create excessive upward spin. You don't need to consciously brush upwards. In fact, exaggeratedly, you can even friction downwards. You can friction downwards. You can friction downwards. You see, it doesn't need to go upwards. The quick counter drive is also direct forward and downward friction. Go forward, never friction upwards on this shot. Some people hear the word friction and immediately swing upwards, which is incorrect. Look, I can friction forward. This is also friction, but without the sound of impact. Impact sounds like this. Friction sounds like this. So, go forward and inward directly. This produces a very spinny and fast ball. Have you understand this idea of modern friction generation? Many people's impression of friction is still stuck in the older generation's era, where you had to swing upwards to create arc. You do need to create some arc, but the amplitude doesn't need to be so large or exaggerated. This is why carbon fiber rackets are prevalent now. Nearly all top rackets, including for amateurs, are carbon-based, rarely pure wood. Carbon helps create a natural arc. That's its purpose. After upgrading your equipment, you need to know how to use it. You can create spin directly forward, or even downwards, as I said. This is a more advanced, modern concept. If someone can't accept or understand this, you can move on. But my demonstration shows it works on the table. If I go upwards, the overall speed is much slower. If I friction forward, I can press against the ball. Press against the ball. Press against the ball. Press against the ball. I can get the ball to dip, and unless the ball is very low, I only need to lift my wrist slightly. I don't need a huge upward motion. Unless it's a very heavy backspin ball from a long pimple or chop, but even when off the table, you only need to lift it a little. For this handwork, don't push with the big arm, push with the body. Have you learned this point about friction? Everyone type forward friction, don't create arc upwards. Type forward friction. Do you need to close the racket angle? Yes. If you brush forward without closing the racket angle, how can you create friction? If I go forward and let my forearm brushing, how do I friction the ball out? I must press against the ball, contacting the middle to upper part of the ball, pressing and brushing. Pressing and frictioning allows me to attack powerfully at any time. This is the second stage of the forehand technique sequence for the Guangdu forehand. Start with drives, that's the first forehand technique. Once the first stage is learned, the second stage is the quick counter drive. Then we'll talk about the third stage, the full loop drive, the complete continuous loop.
If you found this breakdown of the quick counter drive helpful, smash that like button and subscribe so you don't miss our next video. We're going to dive into the third and final stage of the Guangdong Styles forehand, the full loop drive. Click here to watch more of our videos or check out our playlist on forehand techniques to keep improving your game. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the court.